The border crisis is rather out of control. We keep trying to get to the bottom of why. One of the people who's been really good on this issue is my next guest, Todd Bensman. He's a senior national security fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies. He's also the author of the book Overrun, How Joe Biden Unleashed the Greatest Border Crisis in U.S. History. Todd, good to have you with us, sir. Thank you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So I noticed a few weeks ago now, we had a bunch of Biden administration officials run off to Mexico, claiming that they were trying to get to the bottom of our border crisis. And in the immediate wake of that, the Mexican government seemed to indicate that the only way they would help us is if we gave them a ton of money. What has happened since then?
Right. Well, what we don't know is exactly what changed hands, because everybody returned back to their capital cities with a lot of fuzzy platitudes and no details at all about what the horse trading was. But then very shortly after that shuttle diplomacy, we started to see Mexico start to bulldoze migrant camps, to round up thousands of immigrants who were on Mexico's northern border with our border and put them into an unending caravan of buses heading all the way down to Tapachula, which is near the Guatemala border, and also to put them aboard flights to Villahermosa and Tapachula, emptying thousands of them out down there, setting up roadblocks everywhere to block buses going north or vehicles bringing immigrants north, and then putting them back on the road south. And most importantly, in my view, is to suddenly start policing freight train depots where hundreds of thousands of immigrants have been getting free train rides to all points of our border. Now, all of a sudden, the police and federales are blocking all of these train stations and rousting them off of out of the rail cars when they do find them up there. And so now the numbers have plummeted coming across our border from 12, 13, and 14,000 a day to a still catastrophic 5,000 a day, but 60 and 70% less than they were just in December. That's what Mexico did.
Yeah, so I remember it was 2019. DHS Secretary Jay Johnson said sort of famously that 1,000 a day was a crisis. So if we're still at 5,000, it's cataclysmic still. But it is interesting that the numbers have come down by your survey. This suggests a couple things, but one of them is that Mexico always had the ability to help us out, but hasn't done it until now, have they?
They did it for Donald Trump.
Yes.
Because when Trump was in office, he wasn't into paying cash for those kind of favors. He just brought out the big stick and said, we're going to put progressive trade tariffs on all of your exports to the United States if you don't slow the flow down there. And they did for all 4 of those years, particularly the last couple of years. But the Biden administration has taken a carrots approach, and you know how that works. Once the check is cashed, suddenly you start to lose interest and incentive in doing things. And the Obrador administration down there routinely would just let 50,000 go at a time and spread them out all along our border, so you couldn't see them coming in a big clump. For really, what this is all about is, in my opinion, this requires some analysis. But the Biden campaign is in trouble, or perceives that it's in trouble, from polling, showing that this immigration issue, especially when news drones are filming it from above, the thousands and thousands of people milling around being processed in, is absolutely terrible for the campaign. And I think the objective here is to just get rid of those images for about a year, about 8 or 9 months.
Yes.
And so we'll see if that holds. It looks a lot like that. They'll never admit it. Somebody may write a book about it in 5 years or something like that. But for now, Mexico is all of a sudden super interested in slowing the flow of immigration to our border all of a sudden.
So their president, Obrador, has indeed asked for us to cut him some big checks. He wants money. Is it your view that it's likely that some sort of bribe or ransom payment has been made?
Well, we prefer to call it security assistance or something else, something for equipment, and you need cash to help with those flights. Probably a lot more cash than it costs. But they're not telling us whether money has actually changed hands. The Obrador government is asking also for some pie in the sky things like normalize relations with Cuba and end the embargo. That's what we want. Normalize, get rid of the sanctions on Venezuela. But I don't think those are what this is about. I think this is about the $20 billion that they're asking for. So we'll see.
Well, also, it may be there also may be another kind of simple explanation that's involved with American politics, which is my impression is Obrador would very much rather have Biden be the American president than Trump. And he's not really made much of a secret about that.
It's true. Obrador is not going to be the president, but his party is going to be in office. His party most definitely, whoever is, and they're probably going to take the presidency, most definitely do not want Donald Trump on the other side with his big stick. Because
Obrador, he's kind of openly advocated election meddling. In fact, he has been instructing Americans of Mexican descent to follow his orders and vote for Democrats. He kind of routinely says that if you're a Mexican, you have to vote for the Democrats, as if somehow he's the Pope of all Mexican descendants. It's crazy, actually. But those are his attitudes towards the American electoral system.
Well, they have their own interests, and they're more than justified in pursuing their interests, which is to keep that remittance money flowing. It's $50, $60 billion a year.
There you go.
Coming out of the U.S., and they want that to continue, obviously. We'll see. That's one of the demands as well. We'll fix this if you legalize a whole bunch of our citizens and normalize them so that they can work. That's one of the asks as well. So keep an eye on proposals, interesting new Mexico-related proposals coming out of the White House's State Department and the White House too. So and this isn't over. The shuttle diplomacy between the two countries is ongoing. It's still happening right now. So I don't think the deals have been finalized. And if something does break down, remember, Obrador has it within his power to undo all of this in a single day. He can call all the troops off, and we'll have those 14,000 a day coming over Monday.
So we're at the mercy. Fast. We're at their mercy of the Mexican government. So your instincts,
they're in the driver's seat.
Yeah. So your instincts, Todd Bensman, are that this is this will probably be temporary. That this is designed as an election year concealment of the disaster that we have on our border, and that to the extent that it slows down illegal migration into the country, it'll be in the service of getting Biden reelected and then open the floodgates.
Well, let me put it this way. There are CBP officials who are saying that it's their understanding that this is supposed to last through November of 2024. Okay?
Did they really say that? They said this is only through November?
It's uncorroborated, of course, but that's what the understanding is that this is going to go on just for through the election.
It's Customs and Border Protection officials said that. Can you give me more on the sourcing on that? This is stuff you have heard from Customs and Border Protection people?
I have it from a source. I don't have it corroborated with the second one, but if any reporters are listening to this, go for it, man.
Yeah, Todd Bensman just threw out a huge breadcrumb. Please seize it. That's unbelievable. It's just and too perfect. It's crazy. Before I let you go, Todd, what do you make of this Texas dispute with the Biden administration? Texas is only trying to secure 2.5 miles of the border, but boy, I haven't seen the Biden administration disinterested in the border crisis ever, as they are in Texas's decision to try and secure it.
Right. I've been reporting on this conflict. It's a classic state versus federal, states' rights, federal rights conflict, yes. Right? Over the immigration. It's on the ground. You can feel it and see it in the tactics on the ground, where Texas is out there trying to literally block the immigrants at the river's edge, won't let them up past. They put razor wire down there, and then Border Patrol guys would come in there and cut the wire and let them all through and process them into the country. Or bring a forklift in and lift the wire and let them all through. And it's just like this cat and mouse game going on all along certain sectors of the border that are really busy, like Eagle Pass. The immigrants, from their perspective, they run from the gray and tan uniform guys, that's Texas, and they are actively looking for the green uniform guys, because the green uniform guys are the ones that are going to immediately let them into the country. In 24 hours, they'll be in Chicago. That's why it continues. This thing continues on down there. And finally, Texas had this one area, really fortified, heavy in Eagle Pass, and Border Patrol decides to stick a field processing station right smack dab in the middle of it to beckon all of these thousands of immigrants to, rush the barbed wire and get past the tan uniform guys in there. And finally, Texas just said, "You guys are kicked out." They booted them all out, all the feds, and built a big wire around, it's called Shelby Park, and won't let the Border Patrol in there anymore. They said, you can operate the way you want to operate, just do it 5 miles downstream from us, and, the immigrants will have to hike down there and do it. You can all do it down there, but you're not going to do it here. And it's just kind of tit for tat like that. This is not over. It's now also in the courtroom. Lots of issues like that are in the courts, whether, Greg Abbott is allowed to lay razor wire like that, is allowed to block.
It's crazy.
Texas just passed a new law where anybody who comes out of the river onto Texas soil can be arrested for trespassing and potentially even at a felony level if they do it a couple times. And that was immediately challenged in court by the Biden administration. And so it's just going on and on like that. But the bigger picture, if I could just real quickly, is, even if Texas was able to completely sew up its border, you still have the problem of Democrat-controlled Arizona, New Mexico, and California. So this really ultimately is a federal issue, because you have all the rest of the border wide open to them, and they're pouring in through Arizona. I think maybe the most are pouring in through Arizona right now.
It's a bad sign. No government that cared about our people would allow their country to be invaded on a daily basis, and we're seeing that happen with unbelievable frequency, even today, even with Mexico playing some games with the numbers. Todd Bensman, thank you very much, from the Center for Immigration Studies. Always nice to talk to you, sir. Thank you.